125350. On phone on. What up, gang? Now we gonna talk that real shit. Real shit.
What is going on, people? This is JONETH PIPTNE, and welcome back to another podcast. Once again, we are having the Chicago Bears talk, and the discussion is about Justin Fields and the 5 most likely weeks that he does start for our Chicago Bears. And before the start of the official video, just make sure to like and subscribe, and also just share the video. Just keep the channel growing. I'm about halfway there to reaching 500 subscribers. If I do reach that by the end of the season, that would be greatly appreciated. If I was to go as far as 1K or more by the end of the season, that would be even more better. But just keep liking and subscribing to get your latest Bears news from me, JONETH PIPTNE. And of course, to officially jump things off, the Chicago Bears have maintained the way they want to have a similar approach to starting Justin Fields as the Kansas City Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes. Go figure. But the reality is that they are not the Chiefs. They're not the Chiefs, and Andy Dalton is definitely not Alex Smith. He didn't have a whole bunch of years and years with Matt Nagy like Smith did with Andy Reid. While the Bears will be patient and Andy Dalton will be starting week 1, the clock is officially ticking the moment the ball is snapped on when Fields decides to actually have to come in. Well, when Matt Nagy decides when Fields come in. No one will remember that Fields did not start week 1, but sooner much rather than later, Fields is going to start. Well, basically, when he's going to start in 2021. The question really is, these are the more realistic scenarios that leads to Andy Dalton starting. And eventually, of course, Justin Fields taking over. This is these type of scenarios. And the first possible thing that it can happen is week 2. And let's face it, this almost feels like the more realistic option. Matt Nagy era started with him coming out hot and seeing the Packers fire back at the halftime comeback win. Could the Justin Fields era kick off with him running out of the locker room at halftime to save his team from basically similar to what Aaron Rodgers was able to do for the Packers a few years prior in 2018? Now, the Rams is going to be a tough defense. The offensive line is going to struggle, which is our offensive line. Andy Dalton will get a few series to get things going. However, if things does eventually get out of hand right away, Matt Nagy is going to feel the pressure. He cannot let this game get completely out of hand at the same time. So once he brings Fields in, it will be impossible to take him out of the game. Now, Andy Dalton will start week 1, but Nagy never guaranteed week 2, nor should he. This could take time to get ready to switch quarterbacks in between this season. And of course, the second possibility is week 4. Now, let's assume that Dalton does survive week 1. Maybe the Bears lose, but it was close, and Dalton was able to keep them in it. If you recall, the Bears played the NFC champions, the Falcons, in week 1, very close in the beginning of the Mike Glennon era, which didn't last long at all. So similar to the Mike Glennon era, who played for Tampa Bay in week 2. Well, who played Tampa Bay in week 2, sorry about that. And Andy Dalton will get his old team. For Mike Glennon, it went poorly. Fortunately for Dalton, the Bengals may have improved offensively, but their defense still have a lot of holes. You can still be able to run the ball on them, pass the ball on them. You can basically do damn near whatever you want when it come down to the Bengals. Even if the Bears was to lose, you can see Dalton have a fine stat line in week 2. That gets him to week 3 against Cleveland. Now, of course, a lot of people believe that Jadeveon Clowney is overrated, but when you add Myles Garrett across from him, the Bears will be in trouble. Dalton and the offensive line will surely struggle against Cleveland, and once again, it presents an easy chance to make the move. The Bears host the Lions the following game, but it is a rebuilding team that the Bears have owned since 1957. It seemed like the whole NFL has owned the Lions since 1957. So It should be an easy victory for the Bears, but you never do know for sure. And with that, it could be a great chance to start Justin Fields in week 4 against the Lions after Dalton struggles against the Cleveland Browns. But once again, it's still up in the air, and it's only just scenarios that can possibly happen with Justin Fields coming into the game and taking over for him and starting for our Chicago Bears. But anyways, moving on to the possibility number 3. And possibility number 3 for Justin Fields to come in is week 6. Now, of course, the Bears will have to be holding very firm here. And of course, the talks will be revving up constantly unless the Bears just flat out beat Cleveland and LA. And the Bears still could be 2-2 if they was to also have victories over the Bengals and the Lions, if they was to also lose to Cleveland and LA the first 2 games of the season. But that could also keep Dalton as the starting quarterback if those losses were very tight losses to both of those contenders in the NFL. Then comes week 5 against the Raiders. The Raiders' loss in London felt like it was unraveling for the Bears a few years back, and the Bears just cannot relive that. This will be the ultimate test for Dalton. A loss to the Raiders, and even in a good start, the Bears could still end up being 2-3. And with that, Nagy will have no other choice but to put Justin Fields in. Even if Dalton beats the Raiders, the Bears have the Packers at home and then the Bucks the following 2 games. So we'll be throwing. So if they was to put Fields in there, they would be basically throwing him into the fire. But the Packers game will make or break the team's season. Nagy may be waiting for a 3-2 Bears team to throw a screwball at the Packers and try to steal the division game and get Justin Fields in there. If Dalton gets them to 3-2, it is indeed a job well done for Dalton. He did a lot more than what people expected. A lot of people expected Dalton to be 1-3 or 0-4 before they put Justin Fields in. But as bad as criticisms I give Andy Dalton myself, he is not that bad of a quarterback to a point that he can't at least win those games against Detroit and also Cincinnati. And I believe that he got enough talent, and I believe the Bears defense got enough talent to be able to at least beat the Los Angeles Rams the first week of the season. But we're just going to see exactly how that's going to pan out once week 1 does indeed start. But of course, we are moving on to possibility number 4 that Justin Fields could possibly start this season, and that is week 8. As noted, maybe the Bears do go 3-2 and then face Green Bay and Tampa Bay, and it is fair that Fields gives them a chance to possibly split both games, or possibly even get 2 victories, and the Bears end up being 5-2, if not 4-3. Which Dalton, it feels as though the Bears are starting 3-4 through the first 7 weeks, which I wouldn't be surprised if that was to indeed happen. But at the same time, as noted, if Dalton does start out 3-2 and the Packers come to town, that is a tough throw to just put Justin Fields in right then and there. It is the gutsy move that probably could be needed to beat a contender like the Green Bay Packers, but it might not be what Chicago does. If Dalton loses to Green Bay, it would be even harder to justify throwing Justin Fields in there against the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, of course, Tampa Bay would be another game where Dalton could get pulled early, or at the very least could make or break his career in Chicago. San Francisco does come to town, and if the Bears are 3-4 and Dalton just lost 2 games with a poor performance, it is time to start Justin Fields. Heck, it could be Trey Lance versus Fields in week 8 anyway. But I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, how things is going to go down. But once again, these are scenarios. But last but not least, the final possibility for Justin Fields to be able to get in and start for the Bears, and that is Week 11. This feels as though it will be the latest that we see Justin Fields, barring real shocking events from Andy Dalton. Let's say that the 49ers defense is vaulting, and then Pittsburgh is next on the schedule. From Green Bay, Tampa Bay, San Fran, and Pittsburgh, you may not ever see four other good defenses lined up like that, back to back to back to back like that. But surely along the way, the Bears could move the fields. But these four teams lead them into the bye week during week 10. Whether Dalton performs or not, you have to think that there will be enough flaws between those four defenses that the bye week is the end of the line. Beyond that, if the Bears go into the bye being 3-6, all bets are off. After the bye week is the Ravens, Lions, and Cardinals. The Ravens are not fun, but it is a home game off the bye week. Although it will be a tough game against Baltimore, Fields should land swiftly before the big division games against Green Bay and Minnesota. This does seem like the very latest for Fields to start, but there is a small possibility that the Bears wait this long. In order for them to wait this long, the Bears definitely have to be at least 4-5, 5-4, or even have a better record than that in order for the Bears to wait this long to put Fields in. If things just fall off the table right from the start, then of course it's going to be bye-bye Andy Dalton. However, it does seem impossible for Dalton to keep his job through the bye week. So the Bears might even put him in before the bye week, depending on how bad this Bears struggle. But I believe that the Bears does have enough talent on this team, and especially on offense, because they have improved drastically on offense. Yeah, we lost a few players on defense, most notable Kyle Fuller, but I do believe that this Bears will be able to put a lot of magic together this season, and it's not just a fallback season like everyone thinks it is. But those was my 5 most likely weeks that the Bears could be starting Justin Fields this season. Once again, people, just remember to hit that like and subscribe button, share, and also comment in the video. And just tell me exactly what you think and how you feel about Justin Fields starting within this season, within that time frame that I said so, or do you believe that he'll start even sooner than that? Just let me know, people. And once again, this is JONETH PIPTNE bringing it back to you with another podcast. All right, people. Peace out and go Chicago Bears.
Gon' hit your spine on the other side. It come out your lip. You heard what I said. I ain't even off a jigger. This shit get different.